back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Well, we not really. It does. It keeps on going and going. This is our seems to be regular weekly podcast now. But three old friends. The music never ends. So welcome back. If you've been with us before, if you're new to us, we hope you enjoy it. What we essentially do. My name is David. Got my friends Mike and Jose. We get together and we build some playlists, oftentimes based on some different themes and things like that. We listen to music and then we come back and we talk about the music, how it influences us, why we put on certain songs, those types of things, and just really share the love of music with each other and with one another, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. This is our 23rd installment now of the three old friends. The music never ends. And this time it was my turn to pick a theme and decide what we were going to do. And I decided to choose girls' names because I figured there's lots of songs that have girls' names in the titles and that kind of thing. Hadn't done it yet, so we just said, let's go ahead and do it. So without any further ado, we'll jump into it. We have kind of the format we use is we typically take the first couple, three songs, talk about them, and go from there. And we'll do that. So the first song I led off with was a classic by the Rolling Stones called Angie from 1973 from their Goat Head Soup album. And then Jose followed with a live version of a song called Sing Monica by, he'll tell you, self-proclaimed most favorite band Fish. And then Mike followed it up with a song by the great Johnny Cash from Live at San Quentin called A Boy Named Sue. So those were the first three songs. Let's just jump into it and start talking about it. What were your thoughts about the beginning?
Well, first, let's go full disclosure. When we started this topic, it was names. So then, of course, we had boys and girls, and we realized the enormity of that, which it is pretty enormous, and we might revisit that. But whittling down the girls' names wasn't very difficult. And of course, you started off with Angie, the Rolling Stones, which I think that's been on one of our tapes before because I remember you owned that album and we played it before, and it's a classic. And then I went with Sing Monica. Now, Fish is my group. I love my Fish. This song you'll probably never hear them play ever again live. I mean, they might bust it out at some point. They don't play it very often. They busted it out when they on one of their Halloween shows when they did just a whole album of their just brand new stuff they put out there. And this was one of those songs. It's just one of those quirky little songs. I like the little lyrics, the clever lyrics, and then of course, speaking of clever lyrics, A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash. We had that 45 when I was a kid, so that song got heard a lot in our house, very much so. Yeah, I mean, how can you not love that song and the message in it and just the fun aspect of it? So yeah, I enjoyed. I think we got off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, I agree. That Rolling Stones record, Goat's Head Soup, I've always thought it got a little bit of it was overshadowed by a few of the albums that came shortly before it, which I don't think is fair. There's some really good songs on there. Angie and Heartbreaker. And then I didn't know this till later, but some songs that were on Tattoo You were leftovers from the session, at least one or two. But yeah, Angie. When I was younger, I wasn't so much into that song, but it really grew on me, especially the whispering. Let me whisper in your ear. But no, it's a good song. Love the Stones. The next song by Fish, it's funny because I've been trying to find this song for a long time. When I first heard Fish, like I say, this is everything. I was working in a kitchen, somebody played it, and I was like, is that the Dead? It's like, I've never heard that song. To me, it sounded a little bit like the Grateful Dead. In this song, I can kind of hear that. I know, obviously, if you're a Fish fan, you're going to go, nah, what? But I can kind of hear that a little bit. And I think this may have been the song that I heard. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little song. And then mine, oh, it was live. Mine was A Boy Named Sue, which was on my list. But then when there was a live song, I'm like, okay, I got to go into that. It's by Johnny Cash. It's actually written by a guy named Shel Silverstein. He illustrator, writer, children's and adult stuff. Kind of sharp wit to the guy, kind of some dark stuff sometimes, but it's a fun song. I love it. And of course, it's at a prison. And so all the hooting and hollering, they're prisoners. And he bleeps out a word. I think there, or they bleep out a word. I think there are versions out there where he gets to sing it on there, but it's not, you can guess what it is. Anyway, so yeah. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, with The Boy Named Sue, it's been a favorite of mine for years now, but I didn't realize that this is actually probably Johnny Cash's, like, one of his signature songs that became one of the highest charting songs that he ever had. And he really didn't even, I mean, he reviewed it and he's like, okay, I think maybe I'll put this on an album. So he tested it out at San Quentin. It was kind of one of the first times that he had actually played it. And I read where he was still looking at the lyrics and stuff because he wasn't that familiar with it. And so if you ever see the live version of the video of it, you'll see him kind of looking down and watching the video, watching the lyrics. But it became a staple of his throughout his career. And even when he was with the Highwayman, with Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson, he played this all the time. It became a favorite song of his to play. So yeah, love the song, love how clever it is, and just the story of him, going in, finding his dad, and getting in a big brawl with them, busting it up with him, but realizing that it taught you to be tough. It taught you to, to fight for everything you got. So a great tune. The Sing Monica, I'm not familiar with it, but I think like what you said, Mike, man, it sounds very Grateful Dead-ish, and everything. So I had never heard it, but I liked it. Fit the topic good. Sing Monica, and then the Angie. I have to say, I have to give credit to my older sisters. It's always good to have older sisters, especially ones that are a bit older, like 10 years older. Because in the late 70s, early 80s, I had pretty much ripped off all of their albums that had any value. All their old Beatles and Rolling Stones albums. They never knew whatever happened to them because I got into vinyl and I got into classic rock and I got into the 60s. So all those Moody Blues and Rolling Stones and albums, yeah, they became quickly part of my collection. So I have to again throw out some peeps to my older sisters for collecting those and then donating them to my collection. So that was good. Well, moving on to the next three, actually the next 5 or 6. I don't know what happened, but we got it. It's cool. This is why we do these tapes, because we don't ever know what's going to happen. But we put on a song and then somebody else goes, "Oh, I'll do this one," and then somebody else does it. And before we know it, 5 or 6 songs have gone by, and it was in a punk rock / grunge rock / hard rock / I don't know what rock kind of thing. But it just, the next 5 songs we had. I led off with "Come On Eileen" from the group Dexy's Midnight Runners. It's a one-hit wonder from the early 80s. Then Jose put on a classic Clash song called Janie Jones, and Mike then followed up with a group I'd never heard, the Muffs, Ethel My Love, and it was so I'm going to talk about, and I'm actually, we're going to talk about all 5 or so of these. So then I went in with Whole Lotta Rosie with AC/DC because it kept that grunt, that thing going. And Jose went with Charlie, Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was again another funk kind of cool song. And then thankfully Mike brought it back to some normalcy with this Riva's House, Los Lobos, which it was actually good because after 5 of those songs, we just needed to compress a little bit and come down to just a normal kind of song. So I know we talked about 6 songs right there in a row, but we'll just throw it out. Let's round robin it, however you want to do it. We can come back and revisit songs if you forget to talk about one or the other. But Come On Eileen, it's I don't know where I heard it the first time, wherever it's at MTV's 82, 83 kind of thing. It's a one-hit wonder from them, but it kind of gets you pumping and gets you moving. What do you guys think?
Well, like you said, I sometimes I think we need to rock it up a bit. I mean, if you go back to some of our playlists, man, there are some very mellow tunes. Let's just put it that way, and across the board. But this time we at least got a little rocking in there, and I thought that was a nice change of pace. Like you said, I don't think we could keep it up for the remainder of the whole tape, but or the playlist. But yeah, it was fun to listen to all these different songs. Come on, Eileen. Okay, you know. I was never a fan. I don't think I'll ever be a fan. It's all right. It's a good song. And when you isolate it and you play it, you know, when I have to re-listen to them all, you get a feel for it. I mean, it's never going to be on the top of my list, but you know, then I went, you know, then we went into our little punk rock phase there with Jenny Jones by The Clash, which is one of just my favorite Clash songs. It showed that they weren't just all about punk, but they could deliver when they had to. And then Ethel, My Love, I'd never heard the most. That's Mike's, but just followed it up perfectly. I thought those combinations, and then a whole lot of Rosie just kept the energy going, you know. And then and then Charlie I threw on there, Red Hot Chili Peppers, another. It's more funk, not as heavy, so it was bringing it down. And then Mike brought it all home with Reva's House, which is a great song. I enjoyed it a lot. Probably my favorite on the playlist. I'll say that. I just thought it was a great little tune and a nice little song and a good little story there. It's not that the story's good, but very good lyrics. So yeah, I enjoyed all that. I love the high energy. Sometimes we need to do that. Just get it out of the system. So
it did. It rocketed up, ratcheted it up pretty fast there. Come on, Eileen. You know, I don't have strong feelings either way. I do like the little kind of Celtic, kind of Irish, whatever it is to it. That's good. But yeah, then you go into the Clash, which correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the first song on their first full album. So it's like a great way to start into, you know, their sound. And I didn't realize it's about an actual person.
right.
I just heard the music, but I never really listened to the lyrics, and it was a different thing than I thought it was. I really like it. Just kind of this average guy at his job, but he's got this his eye on this Jenny Jones, and if you want to know who she is, look her up on Wikipedia. I don't know if she's still alive anymore, but anyway. Okay, so
something about sex parties, I think is what I read.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think she did some time over it, and she was a cabaret singer, and whatever that means. I saw she had a record out too. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and that's borderline punk, whatever. They're really rocking. And then I'm like, well, I don't have anything else close to that except for one song that I had just heard making this playlist. I'd heard of this band and I looked them up, but I had not heard this song until short when I was putting the song together. And I really like the sound. It's the Muffs, and it's Ethel My Love, and female singer. She's not singing. She's wanting somebody saying, "Why don't you ever call me Ethel My Love?" or what, you know. But it reminds, and you're right. It's kind of the grunge, like 1991. And I was thinking, boy, this sounds a lot like Nirvana, but actually, they hadn't been around that long at that point. Nirvana, at least putting out music. I mean, they had some stuff, but I don't know if it was the same years. Nevermind, I don't know. But anyway, I thought I liked the sound. It's, you know, not a bad arrangement, and lots of. I mean, you gotta like a song with some gals screaming for a good 2 seconds at the beginning. Except maybe Yoko Ono, but that's another conversation.
Primordial Streams.
Yes. Anyway, that it was what it was. Then let's see, what was a whole lot of Rosie. I've always liked that song. Believe it or not, I never talk much about more hard rock metalish stuff, but I've always had a secret love, not secret. I've always had a special place in my heart for AC/DC, and that was one of the first. That and what's the one with the bagpipes playing in a rock and roll? I'll think of it in a minute. But oh, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Those are like the first two I really kind of got into. And so I was kind of sold them. I like that song a lot. And then we go back to Charlie, kind of, yeah, going into the funk. Sounds like Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, I had to look it up to get an idea of what they were talking about. I'm still not completely sure, but I'm not sure they are either exactly.
No. If you listen to them in the interviews, it's kind of fudging there because we're all girl songs, but it's not necessarily a girl. It's not a guy. But then like you said, they talk to them in interviews. They're like, "Oh, it's your imagination." Okay, I don't know what that means, but sure, or it's your inspiration, or so. Yeah, but I enjoy
I saw that. I saw that interview. I think Flea was interviewing Geddes. Anyway. And then I came then, so it was like still, kind of upbeat, and I wanted kind of something to maybe transition, and it was still had kind of that, distorted guitar, and I think there's some horns in there and stuff. Reva's House, that was that's off. I've had another one off there, Kiko, which is probably their best-selling record, and that was one of the first songs I heard off that. I love that whole record, but it's kind of a sad tale about a couple breaking up. I always thought it was about like domestic violence, but it's not really clear when you look at the lyrics. But anyway, that aside, it's a very good song, I feel.
Yeah, circling back, I didn't comment on all these at the beginning. Kind of want to set you guys up for some of that. The Muffs, I never heard of them. I tried to listen to a couple other songs. They're not all that way either. They have some other songs that are lighter and not as heavy as that song. But they were just, I think, a three-piece band, a guy and a couple of girls or something like that. I did see that the lead singer passed away in 2019 after a couple of year battle with ALS. So that's kind of sad. So then they ended up breaking up. They've never performed after that. They actually released their last album right after she passed away, and then they've never performed again. But no, way cool song, and went so well with the Clash song. I just liked the combination of those two songs. The rock of AC/DC. I sometimes forget about how great Bon Scott was, and in the early AC/DC days. And but there's a true story. I guess this is a true story about A Whole Lot of Rosie, and so I looked it up because that's what we do sometimes. And essentially, what they said was that he met this girl at where was it? So they'd been in Tasmania, and after a show, Bon Scott said he was going to check out a few clubs. So he said he got about 100 yards down the street when he heard this yell. He said, "Hey, Bon." He looked around and saw this leg and thought, "Oh, well." From what he said, there was this Rosie woman and a friend of hers. They were plying him with drinks, and Rosie said to him, "This month I've slept with 28 famous people." And Bon went, "Oh, yeah?" Anyway, in the morning, he said he woke up pinned up against the wall. He said he opened one eye and saw her lean over to her friend and whisper, 29. Now, so that's a pretty funny story. But even at the beginning of the song, where he talks about what is it, 42, 39, 56. Those are the dimensions that he said he's described of this woman, and said she was, 280 or 300 pounds. But she was one of the greatest lovers he ever had, or something, because she was a whole lot of Rosie going on there. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. That was a true rock star story about how that song came about. And then again, I think the other songs, the Charlie song, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Only thing with that is, like I said, yeah, is it a girl's name? Could be a boy's name. Does talk about waking up with Charlie and getting pushed by Charlie and all that. And then on the Reva's song, Reva's House, just a good Los Lobos song. I think, Mike, this is probably the third maybe Los Lobos song you put on here recently, and so seems to fit well, and I like the song all the way around. Um, any other comments about these 6 songs that we might have missed, or that you thought you wanted to say something about?
Like I said, I thought it was a good, nice little run. I think sometimes we should do it more, rock a little more than than we do. But overall, it was great. Did you see AC/DC with me, Dave? Did you go to that concert?
No, it's one of those I regrets that I
Right. I think
shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I never saw AC/DC live.
it
Uh,
was, yeah,
back,
Rick Russell, I think. Rick Russell and someone else. There was someone else there. I know there was a
You,
third.
what year did you go? You know?
84, 83, flick of the switch.
Okay.
83.
I saw him in '82, I think. For those about to rock,
Right.
we salute you with the cannon and all that stuff. They had a cannon on stage, I guess. It was great. It was
I
fun.
think it was the next album, but yeah, 80, I'm pretty sure it's Flick of the Switch. So, but yeah, I know. Just reminded me of that, and I thought
not
Dave might
not
have.
that it counts because it doesn't, but I went locally to an AC/DC cover band called Thunderstruck at a small club here in Colorado Springs, and they rocked. And the dude, the singer was great. It was just like he was like Brian Johnson. Brian John, did I get that right? Brian
Yeah.
Johnson. Yeah, and then the guitarist was just like Angus Young. It was same energy, everything, you know. So um, felt like I was in an AC/DC concert, but so then the next song, then the next 3 songs was a song called Hannah by Joni Mitchell that I put on, and then Carmelita. Was it just called Carmelita, or was it something
Mhm.
just Carmelita by Linda Ronstadt, and then Grace by Jeff Buckley. So let's talk about those 3 for a minute. The Hannah song, I'll just confess, when we were preparing to do this, I started looking up songs and came across this one by Joni Mitchell. I have a daughter named Hannah, spelled a little differently, Hannah, the normal way. It's spelled the same forward as backwards. But this one was just Hana. And I'd never heard it, and I never played it, never even knew what it sounded like. So I just said, I'm putting this song on, let's see what it sounds like. Man, I'm glad I did. It was pretty cool. Joni Mitchell song had some clarinet in there and some other things going on, and electric piano, or this, what, I don't know what it was, kind of this sound that was making, and it had a cool vibe to it. And then Jose followed with this Linda Ronstadt song I'd never heard, Carmelita. I guess it was a Warren Zevon song, or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
Pretty dark, talking about, being strung out on heroin on the outskirts of town. I don't think of Linda Ronstadt that way, but now that I heard it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then Grace by Jeff Buckley, great album, great songs. Obviously, this is the one album he has, and it has the Hallelujah on it. I tried to play this. I played this song lots of times, and it's good. I got to respect it, but I don't know if it fit here. I don't know if it was the right play. Jeff Buckley's brilliant. I guess maybe I need to listen to it a few more times. Like we said before, sometimes songs will grow on you, and it's probably one of those ones where down the road I'll play it and go, man, I love that song, Grace. Other than the fact they don't mention Grace anywhere in the lyrics. Talks about a girl, but not really Grace. So I don't know if they're talking about Grace the girl or Grace whatever the word or whatever, but we can get more into that. But those were the 3 songs. I thought they went well together, the 3. So what'd you guys think?
Well, I like the fact that you have the Hannah song, which is about resiliency and fighting back, and then you've got the opposite of like I've given up, I'm done, I've given up, and then you come back with the grace. So actually, I think in this weird kind of way, they kind of all fit together because they all had a different kind of meaning, you know, 2 extremes, and then grace kind of bringing it into the fold. So I thought all 3 worked pretty well together. Like you said, Dave, the Hannah song was really well done. Joni Mitchell. I'm reading this book on Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and of course she plays roles in it and anything. But you realize how talented she really was, and what a major part she was in that West Coast scene. And when you come up with songs like this, or at least sing them, And then yeah, the Gray song, yeah, I'm kind of with you, Dave. I just don't. I don't know. It just doesn't stand out for some reason. Doesn't grab you. It doesn't. I don't know. I'd have to listen to it a couple more times. Again, I didn't get to do much listening over the weekend, but yeah, I thought all three in a weird way worked well together.
I'm with you, Dave, on the Hannah thing. It's you said this before when you put that on the playlist. Like I didn't really listen to the song. This is my daughter's name, and I was like, what a great song for just a stab in the dark, And it was one of her last couple of records before she had her aneurysm, and she's coming back and playing some. I don't know if she'll record again or not, but it was that kind of later period that I wasn't listening to as much, and I've more recently kind of started listening to. And so this is an album I hadn't heard at all. I'm gonna have to check it out, but it's a good song about being resilient, and I'm not sure it never really explains who Hannah is or where that name comes from, but I guess you don't need that. And then Carmelita, it's been on my list to put on by Warren Zevon. I think so far everything, if I just put one of his songs on, maybe two, I think everything I put on by him is pretty dark. And it turns out most of his stuff is pretty dark if you aren't familiar with him. I'm reading a autobiography. Well, it's kind of it's an oral history kind of book, and man, I'll lend it to you, either of you, if you want. He had some dark times, and he was a tough guy sometimes to family and whatever. He spent some times in pretty seedy motels and blacked out and all kinds of stuff. So I don't think he was addicted to heroin, but I'm sure this came from somewhere inside him, his experiences. And she adds a whole different kind of thing to it. Of course, her voice his is distinctive, and it is what it is, and I love it. But she has such a beautiful voice, and so she has had and so it's a great song. Depressing topic though it is, and then okay. So Grace, first thing I'll say is I also hadn't heard this song very much before I did this. I had when I was making the list of songs I wanted to listen to, that came up a couple of times. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out, and I really liked it. I think it's the arrangements, something about his voice. I don't know. I'd heard of him before. You put Hallelujah on before a previous playlist, Dave, and there was a record of people all doing like an homage to Leonard Cohen a few decades ago called "I'm Your Fan." I believe that's what this is off of. That Hallelujah, his version of Hallelujah was on, and so I'd always kind of been interested in him. He only did, I think, one record, and he drowned. So kind of a sad story, his life, but I liked it. But whatever, we don't have to agree. So I'm gonna check out more of his stuff. Well, I get where you're coming from. It's just gonna maybe more my kind of thing. So,
well, I will say that we all have that where we put a song on or we do this, and I have playlist regret sometimes too on certain songs or whatever. It's okay to do that, but then I have to give you props, and I gotta tell Jose and Mike, you guys are genius. I love you guys. You know what you like. You know what the music thing is. So making maybe a slight error here or a thing here, man, that doesn't matter, because there's so many other times where you go, oh, I put that one on, as we said before, where I've gushed about, oh my gosh, it's one of these incredible songs. Thank you for putting that on, or just getting it back on track. So I think you do that towards the end, Mike, where even after this one, then I think you rescued the end of the playlist really with a couple of your selections.
Can I cut in real quick? I'm ruining
Sure.
your transition there, but
No,
just to
you're fine.
clarify, I personally don't feel the song was a mistake. I like it. I like it. So
I
anyway,
I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying we all have
Yeah.
times where we go, gosh, and we talked about this before the video, but there's one where towards the end where I'm like, man, there's a lot of country, southern rock type songs that I could have put on. Instead, I went kind of with a 70s or whatever theme, and it would have went real well with what you were playing and what Jose was playing. But you know what? We're not going to go back and change the playlist. It is what it is, and we'll always remember, hey, I put that song on. And sometimes you want to change. Sometimes you want something different, just to throw it up. Which I had this on my list. I wanted to play it. I'm not sure why this worked out, but putting Rolling Stones, Angie, putting AC/DC on there, and then coming forward with Kiss with Beth, I just had to do it. So coming off of the Jeff Buckley and the Grace, it was it was upbeat at that point. I'm like, I'm going to bring it down to a rock ballad of the 70s with Beth. It's iconic. I will say another thing about this. Beth went to Actually, it went to number 7 on the list, so it didn't rise to number 1. But some of the other songs I had put on, like Angie had gone to number 1. Come On Eileen actually had gone to number 1. I'd forgotten to say this about Come On Eileen, that it actually displaced 2 of Michael Jackson's iconic songs, Billie Jean, which was at number 1, and then this slipped in there for like a week or 2, and then came right back to another Michael Jackson song. What was it? I forgot to say it, but Beat It. So not that Dexy's Midnight Runners get to come break up the vibe of the great Michael Jackson, but that's kind of what happened. And so a lot of these songs that I put on had charted. So I put on Beth by Kiss. Then Jose came in with Neil Young, Pocahontas. Now, I know the song. It's a sad commentary on things. I'm not sure that when you say, hey, what are some really common girls' names that you think of Pocahontas? It's just not one of those ones that normally comes to mind. And then Mike again brought it back to more of a normal field with Carolina in the Pines by Michael Martin Murphy. So we had those 3 songs. I don't know that any of those fit together. It was just like this, and then this, and then this. And maybe we needed that because after each song, it was like, we need something different after each one. So anyway, that's my.
Well, let's just say Beth, I don't think I'll ever get used to that. It's now, I understand it. I understand its relevancy. I understand Kiss brought it together and brought in that little ballad that
Peter Criss.
Peter,
That's his one claim to fame. It was actually the B-side of Detroit Rock City is how that got put out.
yeah.
So
And then Pocahontas, and this is not the original version of Pocahontas. The original is All For Us Never Sleeps. This was just one he had done for a movie or documentary or something like that, and about the orchestra. I just put that in it kind of with Beth, but it really didn't go well. Yeah, again, it's like you said, it's not called Mistakes. It could be called Mistakes, but it's called, okay, maybe I should have rethought that at some point. And then I think Mike, like you said, kind of salvaged it a little with Carolina Pines, which was kind of a upbeat kind of, oh, I like that song a lot. That really, after hearing the other 2, you're kind of like, oh, here's a reprieve, because I don't know what happened there, but I enjoyed that one by far. Of those 3, by far, that's the best song that was out there. So
well, I'm going to disagree with you guys on a couple of things. I like your songs, both of them. Beth, I have some history there. Back when I was, about 12, 11 when that came out. I don't know. I wasn't really a Kiss dude at all. I did have that 45, I believe, and I like both of those songs, which are just like night and day, you know. But I remember there were like some kids and boys in my neighborhood who really were into Kiss. They went saw them in concert and stuff, which I never did. But I talked about liking that song, and I was like the scourge of the neighborhood amongst those boys. Like, dude, that's a girl song. How do you like that song? Are you, you know, anyway. So yeah, I like it. It's a, you know, it's a sad little song, and to this day, when I hear it on the radio, I'll listen to it. But we'll have to agree to disagree. Then what was it? Oh, Pocahontas. Yeah, you know, I love Rust Never Sleeps. There's the acoustic part and the really rocking part, and this is on the acoustic part, and I always loved that song. And this is kind of, it's the same song, but it's a whole different take. It's really haunting. I don't remember, there's an organ on there, but it just is like a lot of echo, a lot of space between the words. And I haven't seen the movie this is from. I guess it's like a concert tour documentary, maybe. Anyway, he's done so many of those. But yeah, so I like it was like its own kind of artifact, separate from the other song, and so I liked it. You know, would I be listening to it going on a jog, which I don't do, but it's like, you know, it's pretty heavy, but it's a great song, and I would listen to it anyway. And then yeah, Carolina and the Pines, that also came from my childhood. Boy, I was probably 7, 8 when that came out, maybe. And I just heard on the radio, you know, riding around the car with my mom and such on whatever. And I always liked it. I like the banjo, you know, it's kind of bluegrass light, I guess, you know. And but I don't really know much else about him after that. I think he had one other song. I'll have to think of it. But anyway, I always loved that song, but I always thought it was about being in the mountains in North Carolina. And so when we were making this list, it just popped up. I think I literally looked at songs about girls, something with girls' names, and it was his wife. His wife was Carolina, maybe still is, I don't know. But yeah, so that's where that came from. Did he do Wildfire, or was that somebody else?
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of it.
I don't know. Maybe.
Because I know there's another song he did that I didn't like as much.
I think
Maybe that's it.
I think you might be right, Mike. I think that might be a signature song. I will say that he has one of the coolest hats. If you ever see pictures of Michael Martin Murphy, I've always wanted to listen to more of his music. I like his style. I like that. I just never had any of his albums. Never really listened to him, but always respected him as, you know, as an artist. I just need to delve more into him. But yeah, some of the lyrics of that song, I actually printed them out because they're unbelievable. Let me see right there. Here, this one, he says, "When the frost shows on the windows and the wood stove smokes and glows, as a fire grows, we can warm ourselves watching rainbows in the coals." Just very alliterative and very, very, you can feel that, the Carolina Pines and you know, all of that. So yeah, great tune. Thanks for bringing us back to some normalcy. The Pocahontas thing is, I guess he's talking about killing the buffaloes and wiping out the Native Americans. And I didn't realize this about Neil Young, but he wished he was a trapper and he could trade 1,000 pelts to sleep with Pocahontas, I guess. So he can
Find out how she felt.
how she felt. Yeah. I'm not sure how to do that. You know. Yeah. Anyway, again, different songs, whatever, but then we were down to the last 3, and actually they were a bonus 3. So aren't you all lucky? Normally we do 15 songs, about an hour or so. Well, we got to the end of the thing. We were at 52, 53 minutes, and we said, and we do this every now and then. Let's go with another one, another short song. Let's add a 6th song per person. So we got a bonus song for you. Enjoy it. And so we had 3 songs, and I went ahead, and I don't know why, I've just been waiting to put this song on something. You know, I like that early 70s vibe on some of those songs. And I figured this is the time to play it because it's Brandy by that really popular group called Looking Glass, another one-hit wonder. They had no other hits. They had this one, but in 1972 they put this bad boy out, and it went to #1 like a rocket. And I think what it said was, yeah, it vaulted up to #1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the Cashbox Top 100. And it became a very popular name. Actually, at the time, Brandy wasn't a very unpopular name. And if you go back and look at the names and censuses and all that, over the next 10 or 15, 20 years, Brandy became a much more popular girl's name. They say in part probably because of the song here. It's always been a favorite song of mine. I like the fact that you talk about the sailors. Could have put this on our water songs as well when we're doing the sailor thing. But just a cool song. And then Jose followed that up with Dylan. Well, the band when he was with Dylan, I guess from the Basement Tapes. Katie's Been Gone, and just a good classic band song. And then Mike followed or ended the tape with a song called Annie from Pete Townsend, which sounded kind of country-ish, kind of whatever. So I was a little taken back that was a Pete Townsend song. It didn't sound like Pete Townsend to me. It sounded like somebody else. But again, a way cool one. I think it went from Carolina in the Pines all the way through the end. Brandy again. Brandy could have been Melissa, or could have been another southern rock kind of song. But I think the ending was good. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the last two kind of fit together. Annie and Katie Been Gone, obviously songs, Mike can talk about Annie, Pete Townsend, and Ronnie Lane, actually, the album. And then I finally remembered where that Brandy is. And if you're not moviegoers, you don't know that, but it became real popular again because it was in Guardians of the Galaxy. And you guys aren't Marvel people, but
That's
for
right.
someone who's already seen Deadpool, Wolverine twice, I do go to see those movies. And I remember hearing that song again. I'm like, I know that's in one of those movies. And sure enough, and of course, that's pretty funny that Guardians of the Galaxy, the guy, he plays a mixtape all the time. So he should be our hero, Star-Lord. So, and then I went with the band. You can never really go wrong. Dylan probably has 100 songs about women, females, and stuff like that. But I thought I'd go with this one, the Basement Tapes. You don't hear it very often. Guy pining away for his woman, and then Mike kind of brought it all back with Annie, kind of a little small little ditty that I think kind of and summed it up all pretty well.
Yeah, the Looking Glass song. You said it's a one-hit wonder, which is true. It went up to 1, but boy, that song has had some life. I mean, it is still a staple on top 40 stations, not top 40 stations, classic. What do you call those? Anyway,
Adult contemporary.
yeah, but like oldies. See, I'm an oldie. I can't remember the word oldie. And so which that's a little
Coffee
side
Coffee House on Sirius or something, right?
Oh yeah. Those oldie stations, it just really starts to depress me when they play stuff from my teen years or maybe even getting into college and calling them oldies. But that's another conversation. It really. I mean, I don't know anybody that hasn't heard that song. It definitely has gotten a lot of airplay. And then Katie's Been Gone. I love Rick Danko is singing, right? Am I right on that? So he's I think he's one of my. I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody in the band, but I think there's something about his voice that always kind of touches me a little bit more. A lot of his songs, he has this kind of lonesome sound, kind of a longing, and that's the case here. Just such a great guy. The whole band with Dylan there. I only know 1 or 2 other songs from that record. It's just a crime that I have not paid attention to it. I guess it was what they were, the Basement Tapes. They were after his motorcycle accident when he was kind of trying to get back on his feet. They did that, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, that was a great song. And then Annie, you're right. It's just a little kind of something simple, about a girl, kind of a love song. And it was actually Ronnie Lane. I think I may confuse things when we made it. I said, I'll go with the Pete Townsend song. There's actually both of them take turns singing on this record. And this Ronnie Lane he was with the Faces. He had probably some other songs you've heard. And that concert, now I'm going off into all kinds of tangents. There was a benefit concert for him in Dallas that I should have put it up behind me. A picture of Jeff Beck and him and Clapton and all these, Jimmy Page. They did a benefit for him because he had MS and was in pretty bad shape. But he went on for another, I don't know, 15, 20 or more years. He was down here in Austin, I think, when he died, and he had a band here, and he would play at clubs and stuff years later. Anyway, that's him singing, and I've always liked that song. So I don't know, it did seem like something good to wrap it up with.
Yeah, I think it was a good playlist from top to bottom. We had some punk and hard rock. We had some different things in there. Was there any other? What are some songs, or what are some other ones where maybe you thought about putting on but didn't? Was there any others that jump out at you, or that?
No, I think once I whittled it down to girl songs, I was like, I think these are the ones I'm going to stick with. Because, like you said, when we were making the list, I had like 40, not that many, like 20 boys or male songs. And I was like, oh, now I have to whittle this down. But then once I whittled it down, I was like, oh. And I will say, Fish, he probably would have picked the acoustic version. There is an acoustic version out there. I know you guys love me for that. And then they have like 15 different songs about women. But other than that, and Grateful Dead has its fair share. But other than that, I thought I was happy with what I put in for the most part.
Yeah, I got close to putting a Tom Waits song on called Alice, which I think is a really sweet, kind of sad song, but didn't do it. Elvis Costello has a couple. Allison, of course, you've heard of, but there's others. There's one, So Like Candy, that I thought of at the last second. I hadn't even written the girl's name, I guess, is Candy. I hadn't even added it on that list, and we're down to like the last stat, and I'm like, oh, I got it. That's what I want. And it's like 6 minutes. And so like, it's not gonna fly. And then there's some kink songs with girls' names. So there's a ton of stuff. We could do more.
Well, I have to throw out a couple that my son wanted me to put on, but didn't. So he wanted Maggie May by Rod Stewart. He said that's a classic one. We also had Roxanne, by the Police. Wake Up Little Susie by the Everly Brothers. Cecilia, Simon and Garfunkel. Those were some of the ones on it. Mandy by Barry Manilow. I know that's kind of schmoozy. Actually, he changed the title of that song. I didn't realize this. It was going to be called Brandy, but when that other song came out by Looking Glass at that time, he didn't want it to be confused, so he changed it to Mandy. Anyway, interesting. Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond.
We haven't even touched the Beatles.
No, right. We have tons of other ones too. So yeah, those were just some of the other ones that I had on my short list as well. But good times picking girl songs. I'm glad we narrowed it down to girls, because I think we're gonna have to have another playlist for just the guys' names, boys' names. There's a lot of those out there as well. But hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Any parting comments or
No,
things about?
No, I liked it. That was a good one.
agreed.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed the playlist, like I said, we hope you keep listening and check out our podcast. And remember, three old friends and music never ends. We're gonna keep doing this. So look forward to the next playlist that we come up. Whose turn is it?
It's
Well, I
mine.
think we're going to agree that it's going to be the guys, right? We don't have to time.
Okay.
We don't have to. We can come back to it later.
We
It's,
can, yeah.
there's lots of
Yeah, no, I
playlists.
mean, that makes sense to you. I mean, yeah, we can talk about this in a minute, but the guys, that is good.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.